Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the monster taming genre and its popularity in terms of what the sort of reach we have as a community is. I've been seeing the sentiment that the monster taming genre and therefore community itself is extremely niche in various discussions around the different monster taming games I cover, and as of such, I do think this is an interesting discussion topic because this is true and false simultaneously, and I wanted to sort of talk about what I mean by that. I think that this video will give a lot of perspective to both monster taming developers, fans of the genre, and even other content creators, whether they be in the Pokemon scene or otherwise as well. So first, let's talk about some of the quote-unquote big names in the monster taming genre, at least in terms of notoriety and sales. Franchises like Digimon, Temtem, Nexomon, and Coromon come to mind, and while Digimon is a lot bigger in terms of the franchise itself, the games don't necessarily sell at insane numbers, so it fits pretty well here with the mostly indie-dominated circle of monster taming games. So looking at this, you can easily assume that the monster taming community is quite small and therefore niche, but that really isn't the case, at least in terms of what you'd consider your typical monster taming fan. We've discussed this at length in previous videos, but monster taming games can be broken down into various categories. The most commonly mentioned category of games when discussing these tend to typically be the creature collection centered games. However, titles that feature monster battling without collection, monster raising without battling, and monster collection without the other two are still monster taming games. Whenever people think about monster taming, they just think about games like Pokemon. However, that couldn't be further from the truth, with many upcoming and already out titles that are more in line with games such as Arc, Final Fantasy, Persona/SMT, etc. I've even seen sentiments in the comment section of my videos saying that the Shin Megami Tensei franchise isn't monster taming because you're not necessarily urged to collect, or because it plays more like a typical RPG rather than a Pokemon-like game. And I must again reiterate that Pokemon is not the default for the monster taming genre, nor was it the first. That being said, a lot of quote-unquote monster taming fans might not even realize they're fans of monster taming games specifically, but are instead fans of certain monster taming franchises. Most Shin Megami Tensei fans don't call themselves monster taming fans, but they are fans of a monster taming game. There are also many different sorts of levels of monster taming games, with some featuring light monster taming elements, whilst others are full-fledged monster taming titles, and I oftentimes will see a lot of pushback and gatekeeping about what is or isn't considered monster taming, but the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of monster taming fans that just might not know the proper terminology or be immersed with the larger monster taming community. Furthermore, even if you go by the idea that Pokemon is the default, which it's not, then there still is a lot of monster taming fans because Pokemon is a monster taming game, and while a lot of Pokemon fans only play Pokemon, I think a big part of that is because they don't really know of many non-Pokemon monster taming titles, or they're sort of too set in their ways playing Pokemon to actually try them. I oftentimes see people argue that the designs of these monster taming games are just not as magical as Pokemon, and I'm definitely going to have to disagree, but what I will say is that people will happily play Pokemon fan games that feature no actual real canon Pokemon, but instead Fakemon. So I think this is more of just a love for the Pokemon franchise and the world that's sort of built within it, rather than anything else. But the goal of this channel has always been to sort of open people's eyes to the different types of monster taming experiences that exist and let them know that these games are legit and you should check them out. I made an entire video talking about how Pokemon fans need to try new games because a lot of people will complain that the latest Pokemon games aren't meeting their expectations, but also won't branch out when given the option. You have people that are more critical of indie monster taming games than they are of a multi-billion-dollar corporation's games, which again lends credence to the idea that people just love the Pokemon franchise, whether it be because of brand recognition or nostalgia. The thing to consider as well is that you don't have to hate Pokemon or be dissatisfied with the current games to be a monster taming fan. There are tons of people who enjoy the latest Pokemon games and still play other monster taming games. So I really do think that the community, in essence, is essentially the sum of the various communities that exist within it. Pokemon, Digimon, Shin Megami Tensei, Monster Rancher, Metabots, and so many more mediums have dedicated followings that all culminate in creating what we call the monster taming fan base or community, whether or not these people know what it is. And it's up to us who want to see the genre continue to grow beyond the giants to spread the word on these cool and unique projects. But that being said, guys, I digress. A pretty short video overall. I just wanted to talk about this because it's something that I've discussed a lot in private with friends, but haven't actually made a dedicated video for. The reality of the situation is that I think the reach of monster taming is quite vast, but I think one of the biggest hurdles is going to be making sure that people see these games as their own unique things and not just alternatives to Pokemon or whatever other large monster taming franchise that they follow. If you are a fan of various monster taming games, definitely subscribe to this channel for daily monster taming videos, news updates, breakdowns, guides, let's plays, and more. You could also check out my Twitter, Discord, and Patreon linked below. And I just wanted to say special thanks to our patrons, especially Jim Hamilton, Dro Ghost, Dark Persona Exodus, and Candy Morency. And we'll see you next time. Peace.